So as I had previously explained in my What's Your Favorite Color video, each color displays some sort of meaning to us visually. Each one represents a frequency, therefore each one expresses their meaning of that frequency with a specific tone or shade. So then I ask, what are their meanings and what do they have to do with our conscious mind or awareness? Well, let's take the time to look into the meaning of some colors. Thanks for stopping by our channel, Metaphysical Awakening. For those who are just coming aboard, my name is Aya and I'm a metaphysical practitioner. My experience in the metaphysical field is, well, it has been a rare one by today's standard, but it's been a unique one nonetheless. I'd like to invite you to follow along with me as I explain what I feel and see as I look into different matters metaphysically. To learn more about us, you can visit our website, which is metaphysicalawakening.com, where we introduce ourselves as metaphysical practitioner, my mom, Hitomi, and I, and we offer consultation services. You can check out our other pages within our website, such as the one on stone energy and more. We're planning on adding more to the website as time goes on, so don't hesitate to reach us directly through the website on the consultation page or at our email address metaphysicalawakening@gmail.com. So we hope to hear from you soon. As for a brief explanation on what is metaphysical, remember meta means beyond, therefore we are going beyond the physical when providing assistance through our consultations and when we provide energy work. We also provide assistance by giving you information on what we see and feel metaphysically on certain topics. Not all topics, of course, have some metaphysical activity going on, but there are many that do. So sit back, enjoy a cup of coffee or tea, whichever you prefer, as I share with you what I experienced or understood when I look into the metaphysical aspects of many different topics. So I hope you enjoy the information and that it's useful to you in some way. Of course, when I discuss these topics on a metaphysical level, I go through them on a case-by-case basis, based on what I've experienced and or seen for myself. So with that in mind, let's start with the different shades of color we commonly see when we look at someone's energy. So many of us would call the colors that we see auras. If you haven't seen them yet, I mentioned colors such as blue, a little bit on yellow, and on green in earlier videos. I've also mentioned purple for spirituality, but I'm going to refer back to a couple of those colors and go more in depth on them. But let's begin with yellow. The vibrant color yellow, along with the high-pitched ringing sound, is something that I usually hear when I tune in. It's a very happy color. I think that's pretty obvious to everyone, right? Yellow has a way of bringing a smile to our face, and for those who happen to wear yellow are often a cheery kind of person. It has a way of lifting you up rather than pulling you down. So those who carry this frequency, especially if you have a lot of it, can go through difficult times and bounce back quickly. They have a way of rebounding quickly. Now, why is that? Well, yellow carries this high light vibration frequency that is long lasting. Even though the person is drowning in sadness because of a loss of a loved one or a serious illness in the family, they have a way of still holding on to hope, and their sadness is but a temporary state. Perhaps you know someone who still smiles when the chips are down. They have a way of looking at the positive and not be so weighed down by the negative. The yellow frequency keeps them afloat, so to speak. Now, let's move on to blue. One thing I'd like to add is that I find that the darker the shade is, the more intense the energy is. So that's something to keep in mind. But we'll start with the lighter shade of blue. Now in this image you'll see a mixture of the different hues of blue created by watercolor. I tried to look for one solid one, but I figured this is the perfect one for the shade of blue that I'm referring to. As you can see, I have an arrow pointed there. Now, if you calm your mind, and as I demonstrated before in the video Dive into the Metaphysical with me, just visualize your heart energy flowing to this shade of blue. Pause the video to give yourself time to gather your own information before I go on with what I gathered. Now, from this shade of blue, it shows me an image of the shallow part of a beach along the shores of a tropical coastline, an area where you usually put your feet in to feel the cool water. You can see the pebbles, seashells, and sand below because of how shallow and transparent the water is. This is the area where you cool your feet, calm your mind, and feel relaxed. I love to be at the beach right now. But you know, what did you get? What does it mean to you? For myself, I felt that the shallowness of the water meant depth of knowledge. So the meaning of the shallow part of the water gives an indication of how much someone knows of a given topic. It may represent the shallow depth of their knowledge in a certain area. Of course, we all have something to learn, don't we? Now, if we encounter someone who displays a darker hue, let's say that of a blue aventurine stone or a lapis lazuli, it implies to me that they carry a wealth of knowledge in a given field. They can get away or get their way around complications or difficulties due to their experience or expertise in that particular area. They tend to be deep thinkers and may also have a more abstract way of thinking. Think about it. Have you ever seen a scientist or an archaeologist sit and discuss on and on about their areas and or theories on a matter? They can go on and on about it because of the wealth of knowledge that they've accumulated over the years. So dark blue gives me an indication of the depth of knowledge that that person has in whatever area that they specialize in. Now, that doesn't mean that an individual who carries the lighter shade of blue to be shallow thinkers. No, quite the opposite. It's just showing to me that the area they're working on or talking about may not be well known to them as all. Anyone displaying some sort of blue, and I usually see it around their head or like, you know, the brain area, has intelligence in some sort of field that requires a lot of thought, some abstract, and some mechanical or technical. The lighter shade of blue is just showing that someone is touching the surface of the topic, whereas the darker hue shows a more in-depth knowledge of whatever field. However, you know, those with the lighter shade of blue, I find tend to be open to spiritual matters. Of course, not everyone who displays this as their foremost energy frequency is like this, but the reason I mention this is because they tend to be aware that there's something going on, even though they may not be knowledgeable in what that is. The tendency I find with those who carry the darker hue frequency as their foremost energy frequency tends to rely on the rules and regulations confined by science and or society. They tend to be stricter in regards to what can fall out of the norm or not. I mean, they follow certain guidelines when studying a specific area, and if anything was to fall out of those guidelines, they tend to be skeptical, which is understandable. We all do this in some form or fashion. So anyway, I'm just sharing what I've found from people who I've met carrying this shade of blue. I'm going on case-by-case basis, especially in regards to auric expressions. A certain strength, mixture or combination of frequencies can directly affect a person's perception on whatever event or matter takes place in their life. So it doesn't do any of us good generalizing this you know, at all. So, but I could go on and on. you know, about the different shades of blue, but that would make for a very, very long video, so I'll just touch on, you know, a few things about them. This is what I'll be adding to the website as soon as I can, and we'll go, you know, even more in depth about each color. So let's move on to green. I've mentioned a little bit about green before. I'll go a little bit, I'll discuss it a little bit more here. Green is a very healing color no matter what shade it is. The darker the hue, the more physical it is, as opposed to the lighter shade or lighter hue, which is more spiritual. Oftentimes we see individuals wearing dark green clothes rather than light green. Why is that? That's an interesting question. I myself tend to lean towards the darker shade of green. Well, green reminds us of nature. It has a way of taking us to the forest with its beautiful grand trees and dark green grass. We feel good when we step into a forest. So why is it not the same feeling that we get from a lighter shade of green? Well, I find that a lighter shade of green, like neon green or lime green, makes us feel more vibrant and lighter. We feel fresher and cool. It reminds us of spring and summer, two seasons that we always look forward to. The lighter shade of green, as you know, I mentioned before, is signaling spiritual healing, while a darker shade of green, such as forest green, signals physical healing. Both are useful in the sense that they require one another to have an effect on each other. What I mean by this is that once you start physically healing an individual on any part of their body, this has a spiritual or energetic effect on them. I find that spiritual and energetic as one and the same. We're all spiritual, energetic beings living in a physical body. What's done to us physically can have an effect on us spiritually or energetically, and vice versa. So therefore, physical healing will have an effect on your physical body and in turn have an effect on your energy. Now, spiritual healing is interesting because, you know, you wonder, okay, what can I get from spiritual healing? Like, what kind of effect can it have on my personal day-to-day life? Well, it can actually have a tremendous effect. Try going to a person who does this type of energy work like Reiki. They can change the way you feel about yourself, your purpose, your ideas about certain matters in life, your energy on others around you, because they suddenly see or feel a shift in your energy, therefore changing the way they interact with you. And this is only done by engaging your own energy to start doing some work on yourself emotionally and mentally, which in turn opens up your way of thinking and or perception. Now that's huge, so you can get a tremendous effect from just one sitting. But of course, this requires continual work because we're dealing with a lot of stuff in our everyday life. So let's move on to our next color. How about brown? Now that's a color that signifies being grounded. Think about how you'd feel standing barefoot on the ground. You'll automatically feel a grounding sensation. Brown has a way of letting you know that the person has a laid-back attitude in life. Nothing really rattles them. They have this ability to sit back and think calmly when making a decision. They don't easily get overwhelmed by duties or tasks at work, and they tend to be well liked by many. They're the ones you would call down to earth, you know, that kind of person. Very chill, calm, and relaxed. While being around them, they make you feel that all's right in the world and there's nothing to worry about. So great people to be around when you feel shaky. And don't worry too much about your anxiety having an effect on individuals who carry a lot of these frequencies, because it either doesn't affect them very much or they can shake it off rather quickly. My neighbor's singing. I think she's preparing for her show. So wearing brown can help us help you feel more secure or grounded. Remember, looking at colors can have an effect on your mental and emotional state. So it's a good color to have in your home. It's sturdy and homey for many people, which is why some people prefer wooden furniture rather than made from other materials in their home or office. I, for one, I'm very much that way. I have a big, thick, clunky wooden table in my dining room that's handmade, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Well, okay, let's move on to gray, because it's not so hugely different from brown. Gray is a mixture of black and white, but mostly white as we get to a lighter shade of gray. Does that matter? Well, in fact, it does. So gray is a unique color in the sense that it's neutral. It doesn't lean towards one way or another. It doesn't give you a sense of being dark or light. It's just neutral. Now, of course, when you have more black in it, it's then leaning more towards black, which could be maybe in some ways depressing. But as it's gray, simply gray, it's neutral. It's how we typically feel when we look at gray. Neutral. Nothing more than that, really. Some would describe it as a cold color when using gray tiles on the floor or wall, but again, it doesn't really stir your emotions. Therefore, it's kind of like brown in the sense that brown isn't tilted or leaning towards one way or another. It's just centered and chill. Gray, too, doesn't sway you one way or another. It's just neutral. But unlike brown, gray can start leaning towards white if you add more white to it, or black if you add more black to it. Brown, just because dark brown, or the other way, light tan, and it still maintains that chill vibe. So whichever way it goes, it's chill. So let's say that you had more white to gray. Lighter, little by little, it'll become a lighter shade, obviously, and energetically it'll carry a higher vibration. It'll have a higher pitch. White is very cleansing and very pure and very bright. It carries a set of frequencies that are ringing at a higher pitch than most colors. And the wider it is, the higher the pitch, and the more it has the ability to shed off negative frequencies that don't match your own frequencies. So it's a good color to wear and have to improve your way of thinking and mood. On a bad day in which you wake up in a bad mood, frequencies given off by white can purify your mind to think in a more positive way. I know that seems unbelievable to some, but think about it. How do you feel when you walk into a very white room with white furniture and white objects around you? Your mind automatically thinks how bright it is inside and how clean it is. That's what the set of frequencies from white does to our way of thinking. So, something to consider. Well, how about black then? Well, black has a way of displaying the feeling of strength. On a good day, as you're preparing for a meeting in which you hold major responsibilities for, you may choose to wear black to show a sign of strength and solidity and professionalism. Think of the feeling you get from looking at a Black Panther compared to a spotted one. Do you get the same feeling, or do you feel a distinction? Remember, both are of the same species, just differences in melanin pigmentation. So black to me gives me a feeling of strength, solidity, and silent power, meaning not one that's being flashy but sits back without doing anything. Now, when one's energy displays this color, it's usually only for a short time. It depends on what's going on throughout their life. Think about it. When you're upset about something that is, for example, unjustified, your anger builds up and your energy in the process accumulates all those frequencies together as a show of color, and all combined becomes the color black. Well, very, very dark gray in most cases that I've seen. This to me means they're going through an experience that's causing them to crank up their energy together and create a wall or a defense system to ward off anyone who's attacking them or causing them to be angry. Once they calm down, their energy slowly goes back to its original state, but before doing so, you'll see it in like a milky gray state as it's transitioning back to its original colors. So that's quite interesting to watch and quite dramatic actually. So let's move on to one more color, red, like what I'm wearing today. It's a beautiful color, right? We're often drawn to red one way or another. Some of us are afraid to wear red because of the amount of attention it receives. Well, red has a dramatic effect on all of us since it's a color that truly draws our attention away from other colors. It has a way of pulling us in unintentionally. Why is that? Well, let's take a moment to observe red. How do you feel when you look at the red rose? Do you feel any kind of pull? Do you feel any kind of sensation in your body? Perhaps warmth within you? Now, have a look at this white rose. What do you feel inside when you feel into it? Take a moment to do that. They are of the same plant species. However, you can feel a difference in the vibration they give off. Color can be one of the factors for that. There are other factors, of course, such as the surroundings, which can influence its energy, along with its chemical makeup, which determines the biological outcome of each plant. But still, it can create a sensation within us, whether by enhancing our mood or giving us some kind of physical sensation, just by the set or sets of frequencies given off by the color itself. It's well understood in color psychology that colors can affect our mood. So let's talk about red and what sort of metaphysical effects it has on you. Well, red for me is a language of love, true and profound love. It's a very deep color compared to most colors. It has a lot of depth. Now, the warmth you feel is a sign that it's a profound color. It has a biological effect on your body, creating sensations such as heat. Perhaps for some, they may feel it in their cheeks, hands, arms, or in their chest. The frequencies themselves can encourage your energy to generate heat within, your body. Therefore, it could encourage an increased amount of circulation in your bloodstream in that area. Try holding onto a nice piece of carnelian, which also carries some of those frequencies, and see how you feel. Well, we find that frequencies from red, which is much like the frequencies of love, which also has some added frequencies, is eternal. What do I mean by eternal? Well, love is eternal. It doesn't just go away after an hour or 1 week or 1 year. It goes on and on. Even though we may not like someone, we may still love them because it's a bond that's difficult to break. It's a very strong, enduring bond. Well, red too is a color that stains indefinitely. How many of us had ever tried removing a red stain? It's not easy, and if you even remove the majority of it, it's still somewhat there, and the fabric is probably already ruined. They have to create a special stain remover to remove red stains, and even if they remove most of it, as you have probably experienced, your carpet or t-shirt is not the same. It's tough to get rid of. So red has a profound effect on us, and it signals love when looking at a person's energy. It's like a warm blanket giving comfort to someone, and its frequencies display themselves in a thick, energetic way. It's heavier or denser than most colors, and very powerful because it has a strong effect on many of us. Any shade of red is just as important too. Add white to it and you'll get a more of a pink shade. You'll get a mix of purity and high vibration with kindness, nurture, compassion, and also a maternal feeling. So how about that? Well, those are the main colors I wanted to touch on in this video, and we'll work on another set of colors in the near future. Of course, I didn't go into all the details for each of these colors because, again, that would be too long of a video, but I'll eventually make time to put all the information together on our website, metaphysicalawakening.com. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, you can enjoy the stone energy page to have a look at the metaphysical property of each stone. I'm working on that too at the moment, but you can still have access to it. You'll notice that each stone has energy frequencies that are related to its color too. So you can take your time there and browse through our list of stones. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch our videos and for further explanations on the metaphysical. It's impossible to apply all this information on our website. It would just be too much, but thankfully we have a platform where we could share our knowledge and experiences. So we hope you find the information useful and enjoyable. We thank you so much for your support. And if you just take a moment to give this video a thumbs up, that would be awesome. That would be great. It'll help our channel grow as time goes on. And if you haven't subscribed, feel free to subscribe to our channel for our latest videos. So I hope you all have a good day or evening wherever you are. Be happy and be kind to yourself. Take a bit of time throughout your day today and think about which colors have a specific meaning to you. This way it'll help your spiritual awareness grow in regards to how frequencies can have an effect on our mind and body. So thank you all, and take care, everyone. Bye.